Hello. Hi, Priscilla. Hi, Denise. How you
Hello, good
guys doing?
afternoon.
Ah,
Hello,
glad to
hello.
see you. Glad to see you. So, welcome everybody to Trauma Survivors Walking Each Other Home. We meet once a week, and then you can always pick up the recording. And what we talk about is what it's like being people who are wanting to live our freest, happiest, best, most authentic lives, given we survived trauma. And the bottom line with trauma is it affects our brains and how our brains work. And that can be something that feels out of our control. So, what I'm working on as a trauma survivor is how can I reclaim that pause, that space when I feel like something from the past is telling me impulsively I've got to do something? How can I step back, take a breath, and say, sweetheart, you have choices? Because if it weren't for that, it could be a lot of stuff going down that I would regret and would not feel like was my true self. Does that make sense, guys? About the brain. Okay, so
Yep.
I am with two wonderful fellow travelers. I am with Priscilla Rodriguez, and she is family's from Puerto Rico, and I'm with also
Denise Rokicki
Denise Rokicki from
from Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, Ohio, and Priscilla's right from right near Boston, like I am. And anything you guys want to say about safety or anything else to welcome our people that are
Drink wa-
listening?
drink water. If you are triggered, it's really helpful. And we always have water next to us when we're, discussing these difficult topics that we try to discuss every week so that we can keep healing. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, sweetheart. And if people wanted online help, Denise, where would you send them?
I would say grab your phone and touch that Google uh, microphone and say Trauma Survivors Helpline or anything close to that, and you will find help. You can text, you can call, you can video call. There's help available. Or you can text one of us, which I'm trying to find that button how I change my name. Why doesn't it stay how I change it?
She'll
Because my
work on it there, guys. And meanwhile, while she's working on that, thank you, Denise. And Priscilla, tell us a bit more about how people can feel safe at this meeting and anything else. Because Priscilla is our person who is a counselor. She has her own business in working with in the Boston area, working with people, families, particularly children that deal with trauma. So, Priscilla, what would you recommend?
Thank you. I want to share that the triggers, identifying triggers and the feelings that you feel, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of awareness, and that triggers are a sign of understand and this is exactly why we're here. We understand that triggers are emotions created by situations that we have no control, and that is okay. Like Denise said, please reach out. It's okay to turn off the camera. It's okay to not want to talk. But I will suggest to write it down, um, and try to explore a way to share it with somebody you could trust. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And so we are just coming out of, if you're of the Jewish faith, we're just coming out of Passover Seder, which is have you guys been to Seders?
I
Oh,
have been, yes,
yeah, it was really powerful, right?
yes.
It really is.
To
And
where? I'm sorry. Maybe I have and I just don't.
it's called Seder. That's how you spell it. And it's what when Jewish people celebrate, they do a Seder. This time of the year, they do a Seder. What would you say about what a Seder is, Denise, from your
It's
experience?
like a family gathering, and they generally invite other people to share their wealth, is what the underlying, precedence is, to share wealth, to share our good fortune. And there's special foods, and and family members get together and neighbors. It's really super nice. And people speak about their religion, and
and their
share.
faith. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Denise, there's a special place for a child every time there's a Seder. There's a child that gets to say something. Did you remember that part?
I don't remember the part, but I never was the child, so that's good.
I bet all three of us could go back and be the inner child.
Right.
Anyway, there is I think it's a where is somebody. It's not, but it's a lovely thing where the child gets to ask the question and that pulls
Right.
everything together.
And they
And I'm
often
sorry,
practice their Hebrew language during
L'chaim.
that.
They,
Yeah.
they speak Hebrew. It's really powerful.
Yeah,
And the
it's
whole
beautiful.
family chants. You would love it, Priscilla. I hope you get to go to one. I've just had over my 80 years, I've been to several and it always moves me.
Yeah,
It
I
always
mean, they
moves
really, it's part of their faith to invite members, not to change your religion or anything, but to share their wealth with neighbors.
I love what you're saying. It's like part of them to and I would love to, right? I believe
Yeah.
we should allow ourselves to come out of our shell and explore others people's belief and and see where they get their understanding from because that allows us to be more understanding and walk from a place of empathetic and understanding. Um, yeah, so I would love to. I'm
Well, then
gonna
you
put that
will.
on my bucket list.
There you go.
Just put that out to the universe, it will come back. And I love
It
watching what's
will.
going on with the new mayor of New York City. Has anybody watched him? When they did Ramadan, he invited all of these people, same thing, Denise, of different faiths to come and sit and break the fast because they fast all day and only at night do they eat. And so he invited all these people to come in and they're eating all of this wonderful Middle Eastern food, which I love. And they're sharing and there it
Right.
is. And then those of us who were raised with the Christian faith, tell us, Priscilla, what did you like, what's your celebration like of Easter Sunday or even the whole Holy Week?
Yes, so I have to be honest, right? Because
Mhm.
religion was somewhat created a lot of damages to me in a way. I believe that after I study religious trauma and cultures, I now just go with the flow, right? But I do see most people, most Christians and most religions celebrate the new beginnings,
Mhm.
spring. So that's kind of like what I try to celebrate also is spring, new beginnings, reclaiming our peace, being able to put things behind. Um, I like to tell my children like the story of where the Easter Bunny came from. There's also and I also like to tell them that there's also a dark story for each religion, right? So they can understand the difference and they can also understand when a Christian person is telling them, oh, we don't celebrate Easter Bunny. Okay, but this is what it meant. This is what the egg means. And when you come to think about it, it's just a beautiful way to add some concept, right? If I was to tell my children the resurrection and how it landed, they're gonna, and little kids may think like, oh, so they may think about reincarnation, and now we bring into a whole different story.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's kind of like how I celebrated. So we do the Easter egg hunt. We still get cute. Well, they get cute. And they go get Easter. I just like to enjoy the children. Yeah. Do fun
Yeah,
things.
I love you, girl. I love that.
It felt somewhat like
And I'm sure your little son loved it. Go
Halloween.
ahead.
In a way, they got so many eggs and it was all candy and little trinkets and they had baskets that were kind of like a hollow. I don't know. That is what my family did also, the people that I celebrated with. But my Catholicism, which is no longer my practicing religion, but we would get new Easter dresses, Easter hats, Easter gloves. My grandparents in Alabama would send money to my mom so we could have gloves and hats and purses and shiny shiny shoes, and uh, that was how we went to church that way. But then, of course, my
All
mom was
dressed up.
excommunicated because she took birth control. So once we got a little bigger, we didn't do that anymore.
Oh, wow.
And
But
we never,
that's how it used to be in our home too. Like it
right,
was a day like Christmas. And it remind when you say Halloween, this Easter reminded me a little bit of Christmas because we got to spend it in Lawrence and they did like the fourth annual egg hunting activity, but they also had a lot of toys for children. Um, and what I noticed is the lack of awareness. There was like a lot of people, there were some people asking for extra toys. There were people being defiant or like, I don't want this, like unappreciative, if I may say.
right, right, right,
So it just, and then I'm over here. I had like the little, like I told you, Denise, I had these little bunnies and I brought these small books. And every children who took a bunny, they had to say, they had to promise that they were going to read the book to the bunny because this is what will keep the bunny alive, right?
Mhm.
But that was just me. And when I left, and people saying in gratitude and all these, one of the things that I did not hear is, of course, they say thanks to family consulting and coaching for coming, but nobody noticed the intention. There was no saying of what we're celebrating. What does it mean? There was,
right.
and for me, it's like I'm thinking like we need to add intention to everything we do to support these children who are growing to understand and
They
add.
just see I get candy. That's what they
Yeah,
see. I get candy, and that's good.
yeah.
Oh, I hear you. And if we go to the basic of almost all these religions, the basis is it's renewal time. It's springtime. And so the Christian religion is saying renewal meant the resurrection of Jesus. But before Jesus came to earth, there were all these religions that were celebrating, like pagan religions, celebrating
Right.
all
My
the
religion celebrates bunny rabbits being born and flowers poking up, and you know, really
Life.
Astoria is the name of the goddess, that
Who's
pagans.
Astoria? She's the goddess that did what?
She was the goddess that they celebrated at spring of, you know, sprouts and, fertility.
I love it. I love it. So all these different things, and if, talking about Priscilla's point about going back to the intention, all these different things were to say, thank you. Thank you for giving us another chance. Thank you for life coming back after dark times. Thank you for light coming
Right. The
back.
light has returned.
Right. And I think children would grasp that in a heartbeat and they would start talking about what matters to them. But a lot of dysfunctional family practice is to not be above board or clear
Right.
about why we're doing things. So I, as a child, I didn't understand. I mean, I studied everything I could about Jesus and all of that, but I didn't understand how the Easter Bunny was connected. There was never any explanation. So I just said, I'm gonna have me a good time looking for Easter eggs.
Right.
And I also had this practice of, it was called May basket. So it was after Easter, but it was all part of the spring thing. I would go around, I would make these little paper bouquet holders out of like colored paper back in the day. And I'd go around picking spring blossoms, daffodils and forsythia and beautiful little and violets,
Dandelions.
dandelions, and I would make a beautiful little corsage and I would put it into this little handmade basket I'd made, and I would hang the basket of flowers on the door of the neighbor. And then my job, I don't know how I figured this out, maybe my mother told me about it, was to ring the doorbell and run away. I would ring the doorbell, leave this basket of spring flowers and run away. And I hear people opening the door and I'd hear them going, oh. And that was a sweet thing because it's right in spirit with what this is about,
Hmm.
this celebration of spring is back and there's beauty. And things that we thought were dead, they have turned into something else, like new blossoms. So that's the spirit of the season. And what I want to ask guys is because we're focused here on being trauma survivors. And you've already alluded to some of these things in what you were saying, Priscilla, but let's look at what happened yesterday that could have triggered us back into depression, could have triggered us back into isolation, all of the things, all of the traits that trauma survivors have, like fear of authority figures and needing to people please and losing our identity, all of the things that we have in common, we could have been triggered back to that. And I just want to ask for you, either of you, was there anything that happened yesterday, perhaps in your family, perhaps just in the world, that reminded you, oh Lord, it's happening again? What was it? How did it affect you? And how did you use your recovering adult self to be in the moment? And if you didn't, if you got triggered, that's okay. Let's talk about that because that's part of being a survivor. It's like after the fact, being able to look back and say, oh my God, I didn't realize that was happening. But here the three of us are together and we can talk about it. It's the same thing for people that are listening. If you've got something that when you look back on, however you celebrate, something that bothered you, let's look at it. Let's look at it together and see how we can find our own recovery in it and also grieve, because part of this whole thing is accepting the feelings that go with loss. So has anybody got one of those experiences from yesterday? Denise, I can see.
I just really played with the children, helped them make arts and crafts, which niece, my niece, always overspends and has a million eggs and a lot of things. So she had all these arts and crafts, but just in bags. And so I got them out and sorted them and helped the children actually do it. So that was fun. But typically I just hang out with the kids because these are Republican leaning people typically. But there was there a teacher, a kindergarten teacher, and she said, "Are you a teacher?" Because she saw me sorting the things and
Yeah.
showing the kids these are the examples. And uh, so later, after the kids were finished making their arts and crafts, then I went and sat and talked with them, and it was very pleasant because it was not they were not they were Republicans, these two women, or they weren't Republicans, these two women. They I just felt like, oh, I do have some people here.
I'm glad. Why do families talk about politics when they get together at celebrations
They
like Easter?
they don't. I just know who, like my brother-in-law, who the rest of the family doesn't like, but I like him, which I don't know why I like him because he wore a Trump hat to one of our family things,
Okay,
but I
but you
just
like
like
him.
him.
Mhm.
He's a cute young guy, and I like him. My sister
Okay.
doesn't like him. My mom doesn't like, everybody else doesn't like him, but I like him. So I got to spend a little time with him on the back porch too. So it was very pleasant. I was not triggered. My mom sits with all the people that Republican people that she knows, and they have their little chat. They don't really talk politics, especially now when Donald Trump is, down in the dumps a little bit with the war and all that. So people are not so proud.
Mhm. Who
So,
has the
but it was
power in
heavenly.
who has the power in your family?
Uh, Honestly, my mom probably has the most power, and my brother kind of does what she says, but he um has the political bent to where he's even worse than he's one of the bros, Trump bro, kind of.
Mm,
Luckily, he doesn't go online, so he doesn't know. He doesn't have that much input in it, but he does watch Fox TV all the time, so he
yeah.
does have that
Okay.
input. But
So,
he explains things to my mom. But my mom was always a Republican, except when the Democrats were the other way, racist. Then she was a Democrat, but now she's a racist Republican or So
That's honest. I appreciate your honesty. And also, Denise, what you always bring to the three of us is the survivor's capacity to find a way to have her own good time no matter what. And you often do that through the children, through connecting with the children, and also through creativity. Those are
right,
two things you do.
right,
And the
making
third,
something, right,
making something and initiating that. I mean, the bags were there, but the kids are going, ah, but you
right.
got them out so the kids could get engaged. And what you did with an adult gathering recently was people were trying to play and sing and it didn't feel right. You went to your car and you got out all these
Musical
toys,
instruments.
musical instruments people could play with, and then they started to love it. Why? Because they got engaged as their true selves. So
Right,
that's the gift you always bring to any group, whether it's your family or not. And I appreciate that. Plus, a trauma survivor's acceptance. You accept the people you cannot change.
right. Every
And you
kid, how
change.
they come. Every kid, how they
Mhm.
come.
And every parent, every adult in your family, they're Trumpers.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
not
yeah.
going
I
to
take
change
them.
that.
Yeah, I take them where they are, and hopefully, I can demonstrate that love and is the
Mhm.
answer. Although I don't think of myself as a mushy, lovey person, but acceptance is the way that I love. So I just take you, how you are.
That's beautiful, girl. And Priscilla, thank you. And Priscilla, did you have an experience over the holiday season that you want to talk about where as a trauma survivor, you felt like, oh man, we're going down the tubes again.
Mhm.
Any of that
I
you want to
feel like
share?
maybe the lack of appreciation was triggering you that you noticed in your environment.
So I don't think it was the lack of appreciation. It was more the lack of
Intention,
intention,
right?
right? Like it's for me. So for many years, as a single mom and relocating to Massachusetts, I had to become creative. And as I say this, I want to also encourage to our listeners to understand that as trauma survivors, we are recreating our story in the narrative of our life to ensure that what happened to us doesn't continue being part of our story, let alone be part of the story. At least for me, that I'm a mom to my children.
Right, that we're passing along. We don't want to pass
We
that.
want to cut those inappropriate or toxic things that would happen to us. So for many years, it hasn't been kind of like the same. Now I also have adult kids, so things are a little bit different. So it's like um yesterday was Saturday was the day so yesterday was more like a day to relax. We relax, enjoy, and speak about it. So we'll talk about it, what it means. I love bringing different views or reminding the power that we have among us to make a difference. And like even my kids, my son yesterday said, "Oh, I was thinking," and he actually sent me a message today that he really appreciated the conversation we had yesterday because we were speaking about how it was when we were little and now things are different, but how much we enjoy Saturday. One of my sons dressed as the bunny, my husband brought the music, seeing the kids, and I believe that the older I get, I'm probably gonna continue making this. Like for me, that's what makes it. So honestly, I don't find nothing triggering. I think like Christmas is probably one of the holidays or even Mother's Day, because I
Because
haven't
it's more
spent,
dark than at Christmas too.
huh?
Mother's Day is more light, but Christmas time, it's easy to slip to the depression because of the darkness and the cold, the different energy of the season. And
Yeah.
this Easter,
Yeah, but
somehow we
Christmas,
can always find the hope.
yeah, I don't know about Christmas because again, it's been like many years since we've been doing Christmas on our own. But for me, I think Mother's Day seems to be more touchy because my mom is not here. Now my grandmother's not gonna be here.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and also I believe that in Mother's Day, I get to enjoy and be kind to myself and reflect on I rock motherhood, all right? Like I
Right.
did everything that people thought I wasn't gonna do. My
Mhm.
story in motherhood and the woman who I have become, um, it's it's great. It's amazing, right? I feel very proud of myself, but then there is that broken little girl who wish her mother was here to see it, who wish her
Right.
mother was here and as I speak about it, it makes me teary. And I don't
Mhm.
have that. So
And you don't
sorry,
have your
but this is
grandma,
what happened.
and you were so close to your grandma, and she just passed away. And that's
Yes.
I was thinking it was the first Easter without your grandmother too. And those are sad, and those could
Yes.
trigger.
Yes. So Mother's Day, it's probably that holiday that I could see. And also because I still can, when I speak to my mom, I can hear her disconnection in what healing really is. And continue seeing her doing what I consider fixated decisions or the way she speaks, or it's just like, oh, come on, woman. Like, so I don't know. So yeah, I think that the passing of my grandmother created a lot of things
Mhm.
that I can just assume Mother's Day is going to be.
And
Right.
well, that we'll have to talk about Mother's Day when we get there for sure. But each one of us,
Definitely.
Priscilla, listening to you and Denise too, and me, all three of us had mothers who coped not consciously, but they coped by dissociating from their feelings.
Right.
And that's hard. That used to be really hard for me to be with
Yeah.
my mother. And I remember one time I chose to not be with my parents for years because they were so toxic and so abusive. And and yeah, so I was off in law school and I didn't see them for years. And then I decided, okay, I have enough recovery now that I can go see them. And then I invited them to come to my graduation. And I remember a moment where my mother, the house I was living in had the three of us roommates, and there was a spare room for my parents, and we shared a bathroom, my parents and I. And I remember this moment of I'm in the bathroom and my mother walks in. Now that's the old family thing about no boundaries, you know? So that was already a trigger. But then I think she started cleaning up the sink, which is what my mother did. She would clean things. And that's one thing she could do. But it just seemed so strange. And I remember in that moment I realized I wanted to say to her, we haven't seen each other in years. Can we talk? I need to talk about that. Can we talk about that? But when I raised the issue with her, oh no, 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 no. She just was dissociated from all of it. And she couldn't do it. And there's a trauma survivor's principle, which I'm learning over the years and have learned. I want to ask you about this, which is what do we do when we have faced some of the pain? We've faced some of the sorrow. And so we're able to talk about it. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, but we're able to talk about it and we're with people who would
Don't want to.
don't
Right.
and don't want to and might go crazy. And what I end up doing most of the time is just respecting. That's where they are. I'm not going to push them. There might be times when I would say, as I did to I have all these Sicilian male cousins who allowed me as a female to sit with them at a Thanksgiving gathering. And there's sexual abuse in those families. And this was years ago, and I said, I want to know if we can talk about what's going on with Joey, because a horrible thing blew up in the family, but no one would talk about it. And I said, in my experience, strength and hope, if we talk about it, then we can heal. I can heal from it, and that's why I'm open about the sexual abuse, the incest of my father, and I talk about it. It's not easy. So, are you guys willing to do that? And the patriarch of those families, Sicilian families, patriarch of all those men said, we don't talk about it. And I noticed as he said that one of the minions, one of the younger members, males, had filled up my glass, this beautiful crystal glass, because that's how the family rolls. And because wealth means we're all healed, we're all doing great, even if we're not. My glass of Cabernet Franc had been filled up so much, and everybody's glass was filled up. So the message was shut up,
Drink up,
don't say a thing, shut up and drink up.
numb it.
And they never invited me back. And there it was, because I probably went too far by saying, can we talk about this? Nobody ever would say that. So even just asking, I ended that moment by saying, I get it, that that's how you need to be and want to be. But for me, I just want to say out loud, I have discovered that I heal when I can be in touch with the truth and tell the truth. And I just want to clear a space for me, because that's what works for me, doesn't work for you. And it's okay. But that was not okay.
Right.
That was not okay. And
Because now they know you know, and you want questions and you want answers. So you're putting them in the spot. So they
Mhm.
rather distance themselves, because even though they may not tell you, but the fact that you want to talk about it because it's still something unresolved, right? And as trauma survivors, that's what happens. My
Mhm.
tears come from unresolved situations. Right. And one of the things that I know is that while we have life, we have an opportunity to heal, rebuild. And even though things are not going to be how we would want it to be,
Mhm.
we can still create moments of happiness and make it better. Um, when I and the reason I'm able to say like is because you're now confronting them, because now they know you know, is because that's usually also happens when people don't want to hold themselves accountable. And unless you have a support person to
Mhm.
mediate, and that they are willing to hear where you're coming from, right? And they could break a little bit and let that little knot of cultural beliefs of authority, unless they are ready to release it, they really may not ever be open to have a conversation
You're
about it.
making really good points, Priscilla. And the two of them that are touching me are, number one, it's a secret. It's a cultural secret in Sicilian life, or at least my family's Sicilian life. The males can abuse females sexually. That's one of the secrets, one of the things that's gone on. They beat the females, they sexually abuse the females. My grandfather in Sicilian would say, never send my wife to bed with an empty stomach. And, the image of that is, of course, he's taking care of his family. He'd go out with his shotgun and he'd shoot woodchucks if that's all they could eat. However, what he meant was, no, you got it. I'm gonna make sure that she's pregnant all the time. So one of the things these guys were saying was, our identity is so tied to the fact that we came from a perfect culture and a perfect family that nobody's going to talk about it. And you better get out of here and shut up. We will kick you out, because we can't, we are hanging by a thread of how perfect our family is. And you're asking us to do something else, which is to become a real family, a real family where we got issues that we can work through. And the other thing is, it's not just my father that did the incest. The men, two of them sitting there, were accused by their daughters of incest. So yeah, the
They
messenger
don't want
gets
to talk about
shot.
it.
Say it again, sweetie.
They do not want to talk about it.
Right. So what do we do, my friends? I have learned, I guess I thought I had enough of a relationship with these men, particularly with my cousin that I grew up with. I thought we had enough closeness that I could say that to him, let's talk about it. When he said, no, I got it. I got it. But his Sicilian, and I wonder if you guys are from cultures where when something is done, it's done. It's all or nothing thinking. You're done. You're out. It's like the Catholic Church used to, like you did with your mother, Denise, excommunicated your mother.
Right.
She was taking care of herself, choosing how
Right.
many babies to have. My grandmother had, Adolorata had 14 pregnancies. Only 8 of them survived. No wonder the woman got depressed. But there it is. What do we do when families are keeping secrets and the secrets, there's a saying in 12-step groups, we're only as sick as our secrets.
And the culture is keeping secrets. I mean, let's talk about the Epstein files.
Thank
I-
you.
it's much larger than
It
just
continues
our
to
family
repeat.
abuse. You know,
And
it's much larger. And that
Mhm.
is what needs to come out. And that is what people are so afraid of because it's going to change everything.
right, and then you're in a place of throwing a nuclear bomb on your family, or so because right, but then if you throw that nuclear bomb, how is people going to restore and feel? Or they may see you as the troublemaker, the person who created this whole mess, right? Because now we may have three or four who don't want to hold accountability, and among them, gonna make you look like the bad one. Or at least in my for my experience has been recreate your story and become that person who
Mhm.
you wish you were, you had when you
Yes.
were younger, and be that and speak about it. One thing that I tell my kids is we're not the we're not the traditional family, right? Where I live in Massachusetts, and it's just us. Our traditional stories and our culture has built in culture and great friends that we have made. Um,
Yes.
so we're not the traditional family, but we do celebrate, and then we look for hopes. And one thing that we
Yes.
know is that we are a team. We support each other and we talk about it. And we also hold a responsibility to recreate our story, because the one that we have behind us, the one we're leaving behind us, it's not the perfect one. And they can actually tell. I remember I've never spoken negatively to my daughters about their dad.
Mhm.
Um, and when they got older, I remember I was one day I was worried if they will ever feel like you should have never distanced ourselves. But having my daughters be the only ones that this man has that has graduated and have college degrees, and for him not to been a supporter, or the family not been supportive, for me, they are my biggest award. Like my three adult kids are my biggest award in life. Like that they are priceless. And for them to see the difference, right? Now you
Mhm.
could have a relationship with your biological father family, but now you also know the difference, because the way they probably talk, the way they manage themselves, the way they sometimes even the way they they um they carry themselves could be a
Mhm.
little bit different to what I have taught them. And
Right.
one thing that I've always told them is like, we dress and we talk and we walk how we want to become. We know the difference, and then we go out there and try it and we learn. But what we cannot do is say, this is where we're from, this is how we are, and this is okay. So now they're able to tell the difference, and they actually are grateful and
Oh, I
proud.
love that. I love that. By the way, I'm noticing we have 10 minutes left, and you might want to talk about other things, but the question I've got is for the listeners and for each one of us. And it's a heartfelt one. It's how have you become the person you wanted to be that you were not allowed to be? And how does that come out? Did that come out, for example, on Easter Sunday? How are you able to be the person you want to be rather than stuck in the identities we were given? And is that question okay with you guys?
Yeah, I'm delighted with that question because spent a lot of effort to be a
Yes.
beautiful teacher.
Yes, you did, and you are, and you were.
And I was, and I got to practice those beautiful teacher with beautiful children activities. So To me, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You became the adult you never had.
Yes. The one that spread out the materials and said how to use them and, you know, made sure they were accessible to everyone and that everyone had a turn and all that. Right.
And the one that said to every child that walked in her classroom, what did those children say?
I'm here, I'm safe.
I'm here, I'm safe. Imagine that. Yeah. And with your family, you have also brought yourself back home to your family. They don't annihilate you anymore.
They don't.
And
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
It is.
I want to share that I had the most beautiful Easter and it was not anticipated at all. And I want to compare it to the way I was expected to have Easter. My family was rigid. I think rigidity and control have to do with fear. And I think that my family had very absolute either or all or nothing thinking stuff because it's the only way that they knew how to be. So Easter was going to church, Easter was a certain meal, Easter was Easter egg hunt, Easter was sit still and be quiet. And it was all of these things, and it was never fun. It was the only thing that was fun was the Easter egg hunt. And I loved that because there was a moment of fun. But other than that, it was like follow the rules. So it's taken me decades, but I now create my own holidays. And one of the things I did is, as some of you know, my son is in a locked in psych ward. He's getting help for his mental challenges. So one of the things I did is I went to visit him and I took one of his friends, and his friend is also in the mental health system. She has her challenges too, and I've known her for years. And in fact, she was my son's girlfriend a while ago, years ago. Anyway, I had a beautiful time. I had a beautiful time because I was able to connect with my son like mother's heart to son's heart. And I was able to talk with him about these things that are really hard, like the compulsions he has to say things out loud. I said, Cole, do you feel at all like you have any way to like before you say it? Do you have any way of feeling that it's coming about to come out, or do you have any way? And he talked about that, and that's what all the counselors are trying to work on. It was a beautiful moment where mother and child, human and human, could talk with each other about what matters, neither judging each other, just accepting. And he hugged me, which was very rare for him. And it was beautiful. I left there with my
Yeah.
heart full. And then leaving the Lori, who I took home back and forth to her home in Cambridge, she started telling me all this stuff, and she was getting real graphic. And I'm going, it's okay. Her mother died last year, and I'm glad to listen. And
Right.
that just filled my heart is that as a trauma survivor, no one was there for me. But instead of saying no one was there for me, I can't be there for anybody else. What the three of us have done, and I invite listeners too, is to find a way to turn our broken hearts into art. So there was that, and that was the most beautiful of the day. But I also did one other thing, two other things I'm going to say real quickly because I'm looking at the time. I was invited to a family that lives right here in Fitchburg. They invited me to this big family gathering, and I drove in. All these cars, all these people. And I had the best time. Best time. I didn't really know any of these people. They're from the woman of the women is one of the organizers of Indivisible. She's like, and she really likes me. And I said, well, great. I really like you too. Anyway, it was great. Here's the third thing that was really unusual, guys, and I'll talk about this more later. She invited one of her former professors from Hofstra University, who now lives in Vermont, because he's retired. And you ready for this? I haven't been fixed up in a dog's age. She was fixing me up with this guy.
Hilarious.
Oh my God. I mean, he's probably 84 and I'm 80. But I'll talk about that another time. But what's beautiful is,
Can we find love after trauma?
We can.
and the answer for me, honey, is he was inside myself. And I left there thinking, I don't have to make this man feel good about himself. I don't have to pay attention to him. You know, I can enjoy including him, but that's not my job anymore.
Right.
to be the one that helps a man feel good about himself. And most men over 80 could use that help. And I did,
Right.
the fools did not rush in. Anyway, that's what happened with me. I want to know if either of you guys found you could be your true self after all the ways we were raised not to be. And I know we got to leave in a few minutes. So
I think
That's
so. And I spoke about it yesterday as well when so I came home from the weekend and found a pot of rice that I cooked before I left. And I had a little temper tantrum and I said, well, maybe, like it's just not fair and I'm not going to be okay. You guys can't expect me to be nice because I'm going to say what really is. I'm going to be intentional and I'm going to say what I feel and I'm not going to be nice and it is what it is. I do think we can find, and I think that it's a matter of respect and saying it. Like I even had told my husband, I need you to tell me feelings are valid. Let's work around it. And that's why I say like restoration, we can always heal. A family can heal. They can heal based on their own perception. They have to have somebody to help them heal, somebody that it's neutral and support them through the healing process. And the best person who could do that is a family therapist. I also want to say that during Easter and times like that, I really appreciate and talk about the power of sacrifice and the changes as trauma survivors. We we take a leap of faith when we decide to break that chain. We know that's going to come with feelings. We know it's going to come with a lot of nuances and unknown, but we know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we are going to break that.
and tell me, because that word sacrifice first that kind of shivers, like because my mother would say to me, once you have children, you don't have a life of your own. It was like sacrifice was like kill, you kill yourself, but you're not talking about that.
No,
What what do you
yeah,
mean by sacrifice and trauma?
we may sacrifice saying, I need distance for a couple of times. We may sacrifice having to say, creating those boundaries can sometimes feel like you're sacrificing something. Those limits, it's sacrificing something because it comes with intense feelings. And we're used to you just having those feelings when they harm us. And actually, when you are motivated and you understand that, then it's good to know acknowledge that those feelings are actually happening, but there is a difference in that feeling because there's a growth feeling. It's you knowing that this feeling is not going to be forever because healing is also can be some type of painful.
That's a good point. I just want to ask Denise, as you hear Priscilla talk about sacrifice, and here we are talking about walking each other home, how does that come across to you in your life, sacrifice?
um I just feel so fortunate that, since I retired, I don't really sacrifice. I have enough, plenty, for to give my mom a couple drives to a party to help my brother at the cottage. I have enough that I don't have to sacrifice. And, I'm not a mother, so I never really have known that specific cultural sacrifice that I am supposed to, experience. I don't have that.
Can I just add something before we leave real quick? Also, when
Yeah,
we're thinking
wrap us
about
up, girl.
when
Mhm.
um when we're thinking also about sacrifices can also be like sacrificing to signing up a loan for that first as a first time home buyer and understanding that you're making a big
Mm.
choice and what does that gonna come like going to school and challenging yourself to be the first that's me first generational with a diploma um graduate making these type of decisions because they are very scary and you're actually breaking generational belief. And through that process, there's going to be people that you're going to doubt you. There's going to be people that may downfall you or like like I always say, it comes like sometimes like certain fireballs and that you don't expect, and you still have to make the sacrifice of choosing what's best.
It's a really good point because every time I make a choice, that means I'm losing something. And if I'm really honest, when I am really honest with myself, I say, I'm sad also because I'm losing this. I go to trauma survivors meetings, and at the end, the question is, how am I feeling? And what's one of the things I love about myself? And for trauma survivors, those can be tough questions. And I often find myself saying, I feel happy, sad, happy, sad. So thank you so much to our listeners. Be in touch with us. You matter to us. And we will see you guys. Wait a minute, we won't.
Not next week.
Not next week. We're taking a break. Next week we'll take a break and then we'll come together because it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon in East Coast US. It's gonna be 3 a.m. I don't think I'm gonna make it, but if I
You don't want to
can,
do that sacrifice. It's your beauty
you
sleep.
know what? I might. If I'm awake at 3 a.m., I'll let you guys know. I might be because I'm going to be flying in and I'm going to
Right.
be like all this different mess. So I might be awake at 3 a.m. I think I'm going to arrive at like 4 in the morning, crash, which you're not supposed to, but my body says crash. And then maybe I'll be up at 3 a.m. So I'll text you guys and let you know because I miss you guys
Yeah.
when we don't talk. And let's invite Curtis back too, because I think it
Yeah.
was pretty powerful. And anyway, I love you both, and listeners,
Thank
love
you.
you
See you
too.
next
Thank
week.
you so much. And let me turn us record.
Oceans of love.
Bye, guys. I
Oceans
have
of
to rush
love.
out.
Bye bye. Thank you, sweethearts.
Thank you.